This is Countdown to Economic Collapse, July 3rd, 2011. I'm David John Sponheim for America's Third Party. I'm running for president in 2012. This past week has been an alarming increase in the stock market, increasing over 500 points and showing not necessarily a rebounding of our economic growth, but rather a mad rush to make more money toward the end. That's right. There's an overall feeling that commodities aren't a good place to hedge your funds and your investments. If Greece defaults on their debt, it's going to send a lot of hedge fund managers into a panic period, and it will ultimately affect the European dollar, the euro. If you look in real terms at the growth in our economy, you don't see much growth. You see malls around the country closing down. You see a nation that is right on the precipice of a massive depression. Now, I believe that the safe haven for your money is still in commodities. I also believe that in the long run, this inflated stock market will begin to collapse, and you'll see stocks, especially tech stocks, begin to decline because they are completely based on investment and not on return on investment. Remember, Google receives tremendous amounts of investors through their stocks, and they aren't making a clear profit on anything other than AdWords. And companies like Google will begin to tumble in stock value when people realize their money is based on a sham. The idea that there's more money to come is not really measured. There's not a lot of revenue streams that Google draws from, and especially true with their organization YouTube, where people get free access, and that's where I'm advertising right now. Except I don't pay anything. They're not making any money on me, which shows me that these stocks are based on a whim and a promise, not on reality. And you'll see that happen. This tumbling of the U.S. stocks will occur after this big ballooning occurs and then the big deflation. So this is classic. Our country, at a time when we should be declaring our independence, 4th of July coming up tomorrow, we're seeing a nation that is rather dependent on foreign debt. The debt that we're still holding back in the 1700s with England and European leaders. We are still indebted. In fact, I've stated this before, there is only one document that declares America's sovereignty, and that's the Paris Treaty of 1783. And they have never changed or altered that document, and it clearly declares England to be the arch treasurer of the United States, meaning we are still indebted, not independent. So on this great Independence Day, you have to ask yourself and reflect, have we really gained independence from England, or are we still not shackled to a tremendous amount of debt and leverage from their monetary control over our country? And the Federal Reserve is their arm, and they use it effectively. Now, we could retire the Federal Reserve. It would cost us about $1 billion to buy them out. We could do that by 2012. But it's going to take the political will of this country, and I guarantee the two parties don't have the will to get rid of the Federal Reserve. It needs the American people to generate a new political party with a new vision to end the Fed. And that will immediately give us much more equity as Americans. They are solidly taking money, 5 cents out of every dollar in your pocket. And they're doing it under the guise of something that many people are wondering doesn't even work. Monetarism. Printing money, which weakens your savings at your bank account. And it's the reason why interest rates are so low in America and why our dollar is sliding against world currencies. Okay, we're going to look at the amount of money the Internal Revenue Service charges the American taxpayer just to collect taxes. Take a look at this. Okay, for the current fiscal year, it's $114 billion. That's up from last year of $110 billion. Technically, the amount of money that we're currently paying, the Obama administration wants to increase the IRS budget from $12 billion to $13.3 billion in fiscal year 2012. And he wants to add 5,000 new IRS agents. Now, that's not a very smart move, considering it costs money to collect money. And if we were to target only the wealthy taxpayers, we'd be using our money for the IRS more effectively than targeting the average Joe on an IRS audit. Okay, that's operating expenses increasing under Obama, and the real number is around $114 billion. That's including all the tax credits and deductions that our current tax code allows, which we need to change. The flat tax that we're proposing at America's Third Party would level all the tax deductions and credits, eliminate that $114 billion drain, and we would probably reduce the size of the IRS so that we would target primarily people at the top end of the rung who aren't paying their taxes. That would bring in more revenue, less IRS agents, not 5,000 new IRS agents like Obama wants. Now, there's an environmental crisis going on all around the country, and on the backs of our beautiful nation, we're seeing oil spills like in the Yellowstone River. ExxonMobil releasing 1,000 barrels of oil into the Yellowstone River, which is a tremendous environmental impact. Now, another thing is happening in Humboldt involving cutting down trees, major redwoods and sequoias, 54 trees in all, just to make room for a diesel truck line to go through. This is a tragedy of the highest proportion. Instead of opening the road up to diesel trucks one way at a particular time of day and allocating resources to do that with the light signals, they're actually going to rip out 54 major trees that have been around well over 100 years, simply to make way for this ridiculous sense of progress, which is ultimately not going to be needed because the economy is shrinking. People are spending less money. And that's not such a bad thing. They're saving more money.
Check us out at americasthirdparty.com.